Hey gang! Welcome back to another video. Thank you for stopping on by. I'm Peanut, the painter.
I'm Smiley, the builder.
And we are going to review our first
That was very loud.
Kotobukiya waifu kit. We got the Asra Ninetales from HawkCollectibles, and we had an absolute blast building her and decaling her.
So this is actually our first Kotobukiya kit. We've built exclusively Bandai kits up until this point. We focus very heavily on Gunpla.
Yep.
We've tried our hands at some 30-minute missions and some Pokepla, but this is the first time we're trying a kit from a different brand, from a different supplier.
Yeah, it was a bit of a learning curve about how different kits do their instructions, the decals, everything about it. Similar but different.
Same, but different. This is also our first waifu kit. It's our first time that we've built a figure, a model, a plastic model that was more humanoid in nature.
I can't believe it took us this long to get a waifu.
Stay tuned. We're going to be covering the instruction manual, the build with and without the armor, because she got a whole lot of pieces. We'll get into posability, decals for this type of kit.
Yep.
Some final thoughts, and we'll show you a lot of pictures and videos of what she looks like.
Let's get into it.
So we're going to be taking a look at the instruction manual that came with this kit. The first thing I noticed about this is look how freaking thick this is. The box being quite wide was a bit of an indicator, but seeing this many pages made me a little bit nervous. So this is part of the Kotobukiya Megame Device line. This is a lot of their waifus. The booklet here is the base model. So there's a leaflet inside that has what we are building, which is the Homura version. The first couple pages shows you what the kit looks like once fully built. Again, this is the base model, so the coloring here is different than what we've got. For those of you who aren't aware of what Megame Device stands for, they have it listed out on the first page of the booklet here. Mechanical Girls X Armament of Miniature. As always, what you can expect in these booklets, along with a lot of our Gunpla booklets, is a page or two covering what the runners in the box are going to look like. Something that's different between Bandai booklets and the Kotobukiya booklet is something that I noticed right away. In Bandai booklets, they put X's over pieces you're not going to be using, and the Kotobukiya kits, they gray out the pieces you're not going to be using. Even with that said, there was more than one page of runners. We got more! So this is what you build first, which is just the single arms, single legs, the unarmored version, I guess I would call it. And if you flip forward a couple pages, you'll be putting together the armored version. So after you finished building all of the armored limbs, let me zoom in for you here, you get to a page where it shows you all of the back pieces, accessories, and different ways that you can put on the other pieces that come with the kit. The instruction manual first teaches you how to build all of the parts using this pose as a reference. This particular pose, we like to put her in quite a bit. You take off the larger pieces from the backpack and they clip into her thighs here. This one's much bigger of a transition here. I do love the customization that comes with this kit and the possibilities and the different pieces that you can interchange all over the kit. When I was done building this kit, I had an overwhelming amount of pieces still attached to these runners that weren't grayed out, which implies that I can use them for something. So this is a bag of her base model pieces that I was telling you about. I know where these pieces go, right? These are her limbs, these are some hair pieces, you got a couple extra pieces of booba in here. Where do these go? These ones I can kind of figure out. These are added accessories, these are some back pieces. I can make educated guesses as to where this bag goes. I don't know where any of these pieces go. There's a lot of pieces in this bag. I don't know where any of these go. So that's something I noticed was incredibly different between building the Kotobukiya kit and a regular Bandai kit is with a Bandai kit, I have detailed instructions on where every single piece that I am cutting out goes. And as much as I would love to use whatever these are and wherever they go, I don't know where they go. I don't know if it's just a build your own adventure style kit where you make the best of what you're given. But as someone who's incredibly detail oriented and loves to follow instructions, this kind of freedom just freaked me out and I didn't know what to do with it. So now we're going to swap our camera angle and we'll take a look at what the armor in the build actually looks like. Very simple, very flexible, very easy to pose, but not as fancy as some of the armored pieces. So it's as simple as popping one of the limbs off, keeping the flesh-colored pieces there, and replacing with the corresponding other leg. See? So we've got the unarmored and the armored. If I do that for her arm as well, this is gonna pop a shoulder out. Oh, it didn't. This one. Here's a quick comparison between the armored limbs to the unarmored limbs. There are a lot of interchangeable hand pieces, so there's a lot of gold ones, but there are also a lot of base red ones, depending on what your preference is. Because the armored pieces has so many gold decals on it, I really liked pairing them with the gold hands personally. So this is what she looks like when she's got her fully armored limbs on. She's got her scarf on, she's got her kitsune mask up here. Alright, she's standing on her own, but she does come with a stand. It's this tiny little thing right here. It looks really nice when it's paired with her. I broke her neck. Ah!
Oh no!
Put your boobies on! This is why I don't like posing this kit. Wow. Alright, I've managed to get her to hold her weapon. One of the things that I would like to mention about this stand is it is so flimsy compared to how heavy she is. Oh. If you take a look at her, her base model isn't too heavy. The armored limbs, not too bad. As soon as you start adding on this incredibly large back piece, plus this giant skirt here, and then add on the complexity of trying to get her to hold this incredibly long weapon, it starts getting really hard for this little thing to hold. Look at it. So you've got to be incredibly careful when you're trying to pose this kit.
Okay, now it's time to talk about the exciting things, which is water decals. Metallics I found felt different. They worked different, they sat different. I started up here and they were not lying the way I wanted them to. Now I was using my angled tweezers and it helped a lot, kind of moving it into place, and I used a Q-tip. I got them to be where I wanted them to be. When it was flat surface, it was fine. It was totally fine. See around the legs and the thighs and her skirt pieces where it does a wave, they just wouldn't sit right. And I did use, this was my first time using micro sit and softener. It did help, but when it came to the skirt and thigh, sometimes they refused to lie down. They refused to sit properly. My assumption, and correct me if I'm wrong, the metallics were thicker. They weren't as thin as other decals I had done on Gunpla, and so even with the softener, they still wouldn't sit. We worked around it and it was fine. It took a long time to get all of it done. The large pieces, they lied beautifully. There were only a couple decals that did tear slightly when I was doing this, and I was able to just attach it and you can hardly tell, but the metallic shine was really nice. Top coated, that will keep them down after they dry and it preserves them, so then if you brush against it, it won't lift off or move. But there is a moment here where it was still drying with the softener and setter, and I must have put my thumb down on it and it lifted some of the metallic off. It's something to keep in mind for myself and for you if you're trying out metallic decals. Overall, I'm really happy with it. Once I kind of figured out how finicky they could be, I learned a way to work around it, and I'm sure you can too. The quality, really nice. The vibrancy, the metallic I fell in love with. So in the end, it was all worth it. After all of the trials and tribulations, we did it with her falling apart all the time. Now it's time to talk about the booklet. Smiley went over the building and the instructions, but let's talk about where each of the stickers go and how absolutely confusing it was. As you can see, this is the original Asra Ninetales Kotobukiya. This is the little booklet, the pamphlet more like, we got of our color that we had. But it does show the colors that you need to paint if you'd like, or to color match, things like that. So, putting this aside, there were so many small little details that from far away you wouldn't be able to see. Once the armor is on, you wouldn't be able to see. But did I do it anyways? Yes. One complaint, it looks like there are stickers that aren't actually there. You can see here on her scarf, and even on this one as well, you see the tip of her scarf has a sticker, or at least the color match paint, but it doesn't actually tell you that. So you can see here, there is the line and indentation. I assumed a sticker would go, but nothing anywhere or on the sticker sheet had any inclination that that was the case. So I'm assuming I would have to use the color match paint for the metallic gold to fill in that one spot, because everything else had a sticker that I can see. It is what it is. Now, posability. After she's all built, obviously you're going to want to display this absolute stunner, but I will say she's a nightmare. Anytime I touch her, something falls off, and I will say her scarf is currently on and holding her shoulder blades in place. Something with this kit that a lot of our homies and a lot of people have been telling us is you're going to want plastic cement. You're going to want to cement her into place, because if you breathe on her, if you look at her, if you DM her or enter the same room as her, she will fall apart. It is just a fact. So for articulation at least, she's a little stiff, but she can move. Now, she can't do a full splitsville like some of our other kits can. With her skirt attached, this is as far out as her legs can go, and they can't really go too far in front of her either, because the skirt corner does tend to get in the way. But if she's not cheerleading, it's fine. With her legs, there's only so much you can do. You can fully bend 90 degrees, her ankles, you can roll them. I just pulled her foot off. That's great. Now, you can turn her legs all the way around and make her a flamingo, if you so choose. You can do that. Would I suggest it? Maybe. Her arms, you can fully outstretch them, but like I said, be careful, because if you try to raise her arm, it will fall off, like it just did now. And this piece here is holding her shoulder blade in. Normally that would just completely fall apart. Bending, fine, it's perfect. And there she is. Her head can not go all the way around. Does anyone believe me yet that she just loves to fall apart? I'm taking her scarf off. It gets in the way. Okay. Now, her head still won't turn. There we go. There we go. Now it does. I'm going crazy. I'm going crazy. I'm gonna go crazy. Okay. It's meant to give her a lot of range of motion, because the shoulder blades are meant to act like a person's. So it limits how much you can do to make her poses seem natural. And while that is great and lovely and fabulous in theory, it makes me go insane. Her hips, her torso, you can twist all the way around. Why they chose to let that happen and not her shoulder blades move that freely, I don't know. That's a good question. As you can see, she's, what is this? It's like a hinge. She can move forward and backward, but not really side to side with just her hips. She's pretty much locked in place, other than that forward and backward motion. So for the base herself, I would give it like a 6 out of 10 for articulation and range of motion. You're limited sometimes, but not enough to really make it that noticeable. It's not going to stop you from doing most poses. It's not that big of a deal. Now for her armor, there is quite a lot of, it's armor pieces. They're big, bulky pieces, and just get everything the way you want it before you add it to her, and then make subtle, small changes instead of big ones. That's my suggestion. Other than that, 6 out of 10. Movability, each thing, again, stiff. A little bit of ASMR, you can hear the pieces. They kind of like click when they're supposed to be fluid. Very strange, but it is what it is. It'll hold its spot once it's in it. Not bad. So, final thoughts. After everything we've talked about, how do you feel?
I feel like she was fun to build. She was a long build. Loved putting her together. After she was built, she was no longer my favorite. Posing her and changing her outfits were incredibly painful, so she's gonna be the type of kit that I think I pose once and she dies on a shelf.
She is a one-night stand kind of kit. I wouldn't want to do it again. I wouldn't. That is my final thoughts. I like her halberd. I like this. This is my favorite piece of the whole kit. Boink! Thank you, HawkCollectibles, again for sending us this kit. It was a lot of fun, and it was fun to try something new and different and mix things up from our usual Gunpla. Boink!